Okay, so we're at the New York Press Club Journalism Conference 2010. Very exciting. Great morning so far. I'm standing here with an esteemed panelist, Mr. Tim Minton from WNBC.
That's it. I don't know about the esteemed part, but I work at NBC4 in New York.
Great. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I just have a couple of quick questions. First and foremost, the panel that you were on was very heated. What I mean by that is the topic. Can you tell us about the topic and, you know, why people are so passionate about it?
We were talking about coverage of the Islamic Center, some have called it the mosque, near, or some have said at ground zero, and it's passionate in the room and in the coverage and in the community because it involves an issue of religion, and it transcends religion because it involves 9/11 and some people's perception that there is a link between Islam and 9/11 and this project, call it Cultural Center Mosque, whatever it is. We've seen in New York similar passion around issues of race primarily, and sometimes politics, and sometimes local community issues, but this is clearly one that has captured the imagination of people not just in New York but elsewhere.
Oh, really all over the world. I mean, this story was covered everywhere, wasn't it? I mean, internationally, it got a lot of pickup. I think someone on the panel even said that it's almost not as big as 9/11, but since then it certainly has been the biggest or hotly debated topic.
It's come in waves.
Okay.
It was around initially last December 2009, then it got a little bit of coverage in May. Over the summer it spiked when President Obama weighed in. It got a lot of attention, and what I think has happened that has kept it going to the extent it has, I think it's calmed down a little bit in late September and now early October, is what I call the pylon effect, which is, you know, not pylon like the orange cone, but pile on, which
Right.
is what politicians principally, but other community leaders have done, not just in New York, but around the world. So every time a local person in England or the United Arab Emirates or China or wherever weighs in with an opinion, the local media in those places gives it more attention, which then, because of the internet, goes viral. The more caustic, say, the comments are, the more they're repeated, retweeted, resent, put on the social media, but also the mainstream media to a certain extent. And that, I think, is what gives the perception that there is inflamed interest all around the world and not just in the United States, much less New York.
So then what kind of challenges then does that present for you reporting on it? That must be kind of there's a big wall there, I think, when you have to report something like this, because it seems like that controversy ties your hands as a reporter.
Well, the issue is to provide context, not just the comments. And because there are so many people talking about it in so many places, it's also significant to be able to make judgments about what merits attention and what doesn't, what informs and advances the story and affects people's lives versus what is just a lot of commotion that may be irrelevant to the discussion, much less to impact on people's personal lives and how you make those decisions and judgments. That's at the heart of covering this story.
Okay. Do you think then that the journalism, that print media, you know, whether it's online, print, radio, do you think that they are helping to heal the rift that's happening? Do you think it's the job of them to do that right now, to kind of present sides or present the situations that there will be some sort of consensus, or is it just your job to report the facts, get it out, and let the facts do what they will?
Well, I think that's closer to what the assignment of journalists is. As I described it in the session that you alluded to, people, because of their jobs and their lives, cannot be everywhere that we have the privilege to be. And even if they were in some places, they wouldn't have access to the people who, by virtue of our jobs and to a certain extent the celebrity of the spotlight that we bring with us, can get to see. They wouldn't be able to talk to those people. So what we're supposed to be doing, I think, and the way that I inform my strategy for coverage, particularly of passionate stories, is if the people who are watching were able to be where I am and to get the access that I did, what would they see, what would they hear, what would their experience be? And if I'm doing the job right, I see it as providing a vicarious experience to people, and then they can make up their own minds, and if it heals them, great, or in some cases not great. It depends on your point of view, but the objective is to give them the information, the context, the atmosphere, and the emotion sometimes, so that they can reach their own conclusions about what's going on.
Right. Oh, that's great. That's interesting. If you were to give a journalism student right now advice on how to cover the mosque story, just walking in today, right now, you know, they're doing a big story, the first big story on it, what one piece of advice would you give them that could help them? And
my general advice to people, whether they're journalists or not, is practice writing and learn how to write. And I always try to say that, because if you can't communicate it, then it doesn't matter what you decide to put in. But to answer your question more directly, it's a complex story with an awful lot of players, and you have to learn who they are, which you can do in various ways through research, and then you have to figure out how to contact them. And I would say that this is the kind of story in particular that you can't do from a desk or a phone or a computer in your home or your office. You have to be there. You have to try to reach these people. Some people who I've heard are difficult to get comments from. They may be difficult if you call and leave a message, but they're more approachable when you're there in person. And if it's somebody affiliated with the development of this community center, I go to Friday prayers, because there's a before and there's an after, and these people are there, and they tend to be available and tend to be willing to have conversations. But obviously it's not just about the developers. You also have to find out who the critics are, where they are, and they too are approachable. And once you know the cast of characters, if you will, it helps you and allows you to tell the story. Right? You can't write the script without knowing who's in the play.
Oh, yeah, I come from TV and film. I get that for sure. This is great. Thank you. What are you enjoying the conference?
It's the part that I've been to has been fascinating and informative.
Well, that's no fair. You were on the panel. Okay. But we thank
I'll
you
leave
so
it to
much.
other people to conclude how interesting it was.
He's such a journalist. We enjoyed your panel, and we enjoyed you. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's kind of you. Happy to.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.